Good morning, my gardening friends. Today I wanted to post a little video about plants that I love, absolutely love in August, and just wanted to highlight a few plants that are really looking amazing at this time of the year and share with you why I love these plants, and maybe you might think about adding them in your garden. If for those of you who are joining me new, welcome. I garden in Toronto in Zone 6, and I post about all things plants and gardening, and I'm really excited to share my garden with you and my gardening journey and everything that I'm learning and observing in my garden. So today I wanted to highlight a few plants because it's nice to kind of highlight the true tried tested plants in my garden that I've been growing for a few years, and talk about them, why I love them and why they have been such great performers, especially in my weather and in my zone. And if you're in the same zone, maybe you may consider adding these to your garden. So the very first plant I wanted to highlight is this beautiful blue chiffon rose of Sharon. I've had this shrub now for about 7 years, and it is really glorious and beautiful because it's just come into its own in the last 2-3 years. It's so tall and beautiful and has such a beautiful presence, and look how many blooms it's covered with. It's been blooming non-stop since early August or end of July, early August, and it's gonna go straight through September. So you get a good amount of bloom time with the Rose of Sharon. And there are many varieties now that don't seed around like the old varieties. And honestly, I've had this plant now for 7 years, and I haven't really had any babies from this plant. Although I wouldn't mind 1 or 2 babies because it's a beautiful shrub. And look at all these blooms. It's covered in blooms. And last summer, end of summer, fall, I did give it a prune, and it's really helped the plant branch out and really fill out with lots of blossoms, and it's looking really gorgeous. So this is definitely my recommendation for the summer garden. It's a beautiful shrub, and look at that monarch just enjoying itself in my garden. So attracts lots of pollinators. I always see lots of bees on this plant and butterflies. It's a beautiful, vibrant plant, adding a nice height and texture to the garden. It's pretty tall, and it's going to get like that, but it does have a narrow habit at the base, so you can actually limit up and give it a nice shape if you wanted to do so. I haven't really done much with it. It's naturally taken that narrow kind of shape, and the trunk is quite nice, and I can keep it pruned to keep it exposed. But because it's between a couple of hedges, I don't really have to do much with it. So that's one of them. So the second one I wanted to talk about is hydrangeas, especially panicle hydrangeas, and why I love them. So panicle hydrangeas come in a lot of varieties, and they can be from the earlier blooming varieties like the quickfires and the quickfire fabs to some of the ones that bloom later like the limelights. So many in between. There's firelight, pinky winky, there is confetti, there is so many different varieties of panicle hydrangea. But what they have in common is beautiful creamy white blooms, and they are just stunning. And they will bloom, give you a long bloom season from summer all the way into fall, because the heads will turn a nice shade of pink. They all turn a nice shade of pink. Of some shade of pink, some are darker than others, some are much lighter. So this one is already turning its fall color, and I love how this turns a beautiful pink, a dusty rose pink color. And some of them can be very vibrant, like the firelight can turn a really vibrant pink. Pink, almost like a pomegranate color. So really easy plant, really nice in the garden, adds a huge presence in the garden, and I love this so much. And it's always constantly also attracting a lot of pollinators. Like that monarch doesn't want to leave this hydrangea right now, and I love that about this this plant. It is amazing and definitely a must add in your garden. It's an easy hydrangea. It blooms on new wood, and it will you will not sacrifice any blooms if you trim it. This one in fact suffered a lot of winter damage last year, and I had to cut it back a lot, and it's bloomed beautifully, and it's just a gorgeous, like this is bigger than my hand, and I absolutely love this plant for the summer garden. A must add in your garden, and I love how this looks. So this is number 2 on my list. I have many varieties in my garden, but this is like the most mature variety that I have, and I can tell you that now that it's mature, the blooms are huge, and it is a gorgeous hydrangea to add to your garden. So definitely add panicle hydrangeas, or think about adding panicle hydrangeas to your summer garden. The other 2 plants that I'm going to talk about are actually beside each other in this garden here. The one over here is called Bluebeard. So this one is a very late blooming summer plant. It is not as common. Some people have it, some don't have it, but I just have this one plant. It's called Bluebeard, and it actually blooms later in the summer. It's actually just starting to bloom in my garden, which is almost the end of August, and it's going to keep blooming all the way into September. So it's really nice plant to add some color when everything else is kind of done blooming, or it's coming into its second wave of blooming. So really beautiful purple colored plant. It's a nice height. It gets about, I think, about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, and it's just a nice delicate silvery blue foliage, and pollinators absolutely love this plant so much in my garden that I cannot even tell you how much this attracts in the garden. And I love it especially placed with a summer phlox, and phlox is a nice staple in the summer garden as well. They come in a variety of colors, corals, pinks, light pinks, reds, all kinds of colors, whites. So they are also a summer staple. So if you love summer blooms, phlox is definitely one on your list, and it does bloom for a really long time. And some start early, some bloom later, and they're just a beautiful addition to the summer garden. I don't know if you can see these plants very well because of all the sun, but I did want to stop and give a shout out to these plants because they are amazing in the summer garden. Highly recommend Bluebeard and phlox, summer phlox for the summer garden. Let me walk around and see if there's anything else I want to highlight before I end this video. So the last plant I want to highlight today is this beautiful hibiscus. This one is called Holy Grail. It is a very stunning, beautiful hibiscus, and I in general love perennial hibiscus because they are just such a wonderful delight, surprise in the summer, because they come up and they start blooming when you're least expecting anything, and they are so huge that they actually command your attention. Like literally this wasn't there yesterday, and today it is such a big presence in my garden. So I would not be without perennial hibiscus in my garden. So this one is called Holy Grail by Proven Winners, and this one is especially unique because it has a darker foliage. Like it has a black tinge to the foliage, and the new foliage is even more dark, but the blooms are just ginormous. They are stunning, and I could not end this video without highlighting this beauty in my garden. And why I love them is because, like I said, they are this unexpected jolt of color in the garden when you're least expecting it. And to me, summer and hibiscus, they are just, you know, remind me of the tropics, and I love it. I grew up in India, so I grew up looking at a lot of hibiscus growing up, and this plant just takes me right home. So with that, I wanted to thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found these plant recommendations useful, and these are true and tried in my garden, and I would highly recommend them for your summer garden. I hope you add them in your garden, and if you already have them in your garden, do let me know in comments below. And I hope everyone has a fabulous day. Thank you again for joining, And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, do consider subscribing. I love to share my garden with all of you, and I hope you will come along with me. Thank you again for joining.